Okay, I'll do We're going to be doing this at the last half of class. Maybe we can just pass it around. Because it's amazing. Yeah. I'll wait. Yeah, you can do it during breaks. Well, I think it's what everybody's trying to do. Oh, that was smart. All right. How's everybody doing? Good. Welcome to day 2, neurology. Very nice little hat. Looks like hats, not. Yeah. We'll be writing on these on each other in the last second part of class. And if it doesn't, like I know for some people it might not fit right, and if it doesn't fit right, then maybe we can hold the hands out and a hand pat. We'll make it work. We'll be doing another round of brain hacks at the end of the term to show differences in what you've learned. So for today, as a little preview for this activity a little bit, I want you to put as much detail as you know about the brain on the brain hack, just to see where you're at. You should have a little bit of knowledge from that first couple chapters, like directional terms and things, but I don't expect you to know a whole lot, but I do want to see where you're at. And then later in the term, so gradient completion, basically. I would expect some bare minimum, especially from chapters 2 to 3. But we're going bare minimum, like this is the core stuff, kind of stuff. But we'll be talking about it before we do it. But then later in the term, you'll want a lot more. And then you can give me feedback about whether or not these are anatomically correct. Some skeptical. Okay. So before we get started, I realized I left this slide out last time. I spent a little quality time talking about other resources. So your books are really good resources. The Roos textbook is new to me this year, so I'm reading it along with you. And so far, I really, really like it. The previous textbook used is by the Botany Water textbook, which is a kind of long-time traditional textbook for our field. It's denser, but it also doesn't cover a lot of the steps that y'all need, and it's a lot more expensive. So I actually like this one a lot better. So take advantage of that textbook, take advantage of the online resources, study materials available, images for you, great, good resources. It's okay if you're being noisy, I actually like people to be awake, so carry on. The second thing up here is an Apple app called Essential Anatomy 5. It's not free. I can't remember how much it is for students, like somewhere around $70, so it's pricey. But it's such a good app that this is on all the iPads and all the bio labs here as a walkthrough of anatomy. It's a really, really good app, and it gives you a good 3D picture of all human anatomical systems. So you can look at a body and kind of peel away layers and look at muscle groups, the brain, look into the brain, and it's like a 3D, like you can drag it around the app. It's really cool. But not free. The app is on iPads too. I don't have one, so I have to look at it in those labs. The next one is a free brain atlas. Remind me of your name? Carrie, that's right. Thank you. So Carrie downloaded this on her phone. It's called 3D Brain. You can get it on Android or Apple. Really cool. It's not quite as comprehensive as the expensive one, but it's still really awesome. It's 3D. You can click and drag on the brain and can look at it from different angles, peel away sections. It labels those deeper structures so that you can see how they are in relation to other structures. And it also has an online version. So this is kind of what it looks like here. That is what it looks like here. So it labels according to the load here. I can turn it on the phone. You can just click on the brain. You can rotate it, and now you can see the basal ganglia structure. So here's your tail of your caudate. Floating pallidus is under there. And you can click up here on the upper left. Let's say I want to look at the limbic system. Here you go. Here's the cingulate cortex. That's down the middle of your cortex. And I can rotate it like that. Then that way you can understand where these structures are in relation to one another in a way that you cannot get from a 2D picture that is flat. You need 20 2D pictures to equal one of these, right? Because you have to understand, it's slightly in front of it, but when you turn it, it looks like this. If you slice it, it looks completely different. So when you look at MRIs that are 2D, it'll be hard to tell what you're looking at if you don't know what's behind what, or what does it look like there's a white matter tract that looks like a big X. Cut the brain this way. So unless you sort of have an understanding of where things are three-dimensionally, it'll be hard to understand what you're looking at on a piece of paper. So if you can't get the expensive app for whatever reason, this one will be good too. It's a good one. And it has case studies. Carrie pointed out, I forgot about this, but it has case studies on it too. So what happens when this area is damaged. It's just fun and interesting. Okay. I told you about the coloring books last time. The one I showed you is $12 on Amazon, so I linked it on that slide. And finally, so you'll be learning primarily from cartoony-looking images in here. Does anybody have a guess about why we need cartoony images over just cadaver-type images or real brains?
So we can differentiate the parts.
I've heard a couple answers. What you say over here?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So we can differentiate the parts because the tissue kind of looks all the same.
That's true, yeah. Tissue's not nice and purple versus light green. Well, I heard somebody else in here.
Laughter reinforces knowledge or memory.
Oh, finding it funny. So, if they are actual cartoons, we're talking about drawing stuff. Yeah. So pretty great.
It's less intimidating than seeing brain.
Yeah, all true stuff. Or somebody in the middle, Yeah.
If you're talking to a client and you show them a cadaver, that can be a little
Like an actual tissue.
That would get a little alarming, but it's actually kind of fun.
That's true. Those are all true things. For me, the reason, I don't know if it's the main reason, but one reason is every one of your brains is entirely different. So every time you look at a real brain, it'll be slightly different. The sulci will be in different places, it's bump. The bumps, the gyri will be in different places. The sulci are the valleys or the lines. The gyri will be in different places. Something that you learn, like, oh, the motor strip, that's right there. It might not be right there in every brain you look at. So if I were to show you real brains, you have to learn it over and over again. The nice thing about drawing is it's sort of an average. So you can kind of get a sense of where things generally are without learning it in one way. So if you ever look at two pictures and they're not quite the same, that's probably why. Because we're looking at averages, not real brains. And the color one is actually a really good point because does anybody know what color your brain typically is?
Great.
That's the color of a formaldehyde brain.
Oh.
You're gonna see too. Actually, it's pink, profuse with blood.
Oh.
So your brain is actually pink and squishy like jello, or pink mushrooms. I don't know if there are pink mushrooms. That's why you should wear your helmets, because jello. Remember jello, okay?
The book says cold butter.
Cold butter, oh, I missed that. Cold butter, though, that seems pretty firm. Maybe soft butter. Solid. They're like extra meaty. Okay. So I'm going to show you this last resource here. So the other thing that is it won't be so common if you become a practicing clinician, or if you work in healthcare at all, you won't see people's brains, like actual brains, all that often, unless you happen to work with a neurosurgeon and you get to go in the room. Did you know during neurosurgery you're awake? Anybody know that? So not if you've had a traumatic incident and they're doing surgery with your brain and you're out because they're trying to repair a rupture or something. But if they're placing a deep brain stimulator or they're going in to cut the corpus callosum, you are awake. And they put up a little curtain, kind of like a C-section, so that you can't see it and you don't get stuff through the curtain. But they're checking functions while they're doing surgery. So you're often awake. I don't know if typical is the right word. So if you ever have an opportunity to watch a surgery like that, you should. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're awake, but are you still hearing?
They're testing your cognitive functions.
But if you're under drugs or anything like that for pain or
So thank you, I missed that point. So you actually don't have nerve endings in your brain. So they deaden the skull and the nerve endings that are on the surface, but they don't have to put you under because once they get to the brain, you can't feel it. YouTube it. I'm telling you the truth. I won't show y'all in here just because some people aren't so good with surgery. But
I was told, I think in my neuropsych classes, that a lot of times they'll do research on people that are already having brain surgery. So
Yep.
that's like different areas.
that's exactly right. So that's how they've identified a lot of really localized regions in the motor strip, for example. They know about the homunculus, so they're able to look area by area. Pretty unusual to be able to do that. That's cool. So if you're in a healthcare setting, if you're a previous criminologist, I remember, and that's actually an area of neuropsychology, and some people in pathologists that will testify that, hey, a brain injury actually does affect behavior. And they'll bring brain scans to show that kind of thing. So if you're in a lot of different fields, the typical way you'll see brains is actually MRI images or CAT scan images, CT scans. So one of the resources I have on that slide is this whole brain atlas through the medical school at Harvard that anybody can access that has a browser. And it has a whole normal anatomy set of images that you can look at, and it also has folks that have had cerebrovascular accidents or strokes, that have had brain tumors, different kinds of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Pick's disease, and other folks that have had inflammatory or infectious diseases like cerebrotoxoplasmosis. Anybody know where you can catch that?
Yes.
Cat poop. Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. Anybody know what that one is? It's a human variant of mad cow. And then herpes encephalitis, Lyme encephalopathy, Lyme disease, that's one tick. Check yourself for ticks when you go hiking. And AIDS-related dementia, MS. MS causes lesions in different places in the brain. So you can go and look through all those. And the nice thing about the collection is that they've done brain scans on folks at different points in time. So you can see their brain change over time if it's neurodegenerative, or you can see you can see kind of different points in time during recovery for folks that have had a stroke. Now the normal atlas, right up there, I just want to show you real quick, because that way you get a sense of what it is. So this doesn't look like your cartoon images, does it? So that's why you really need to understand where things are in 3D. But the really cool thing about this tool is that you say, hey, I want to find something in the brain hemispheres. I want to know, here, somebody, can y'all see that? Somebody shout out a structure.
Hippocampus.
You want to see the hippocampus? So let's find the hippocampus. It'll point it out for you, and then you can say sync. And it'll sync all of the 3 views, so you can see the hippocampus from different angles. And we'll talk more about what these views are, so it'll make more sense, okay, if you don't know what you're looking at. So you can do that for all these different types of structures. It's a really cool tool to use. So this is MRR. This is an MRI that is weighted with using a certain type of contrast, so that the gray matter is gray and the white matter is white. But there are other types of contrast. So T2 kind of reverses it. So it's using a different sort of imaging tool. And then you have different types of PET scans. And so PET is, well, let me back up. So are y'all mostly familiar with what an MRI is-ish? Basically, it's a huge magnet that shoots radio waves at you to make your cells wobble. And then it measures the unwobble. That's the technical explanation of MRI. PET scan, I'm looking at the person that's had neuroscience background right here. PET scans use radioactive decay using injection. So they'll inject a certain substance into somebody that has a really quick decay period, and the positron emission tomography scanner will pick up that decay and can look at activity in more real time. So it looks different. It's showing you areas during that activity using these different kinds of contrast. And this overlays the two, where you have PET and overlaid on an MRI image. Okay, this is a really nice tool. It'll make more sense once you get into the class, and it's a good study tool, so you can kind of see how things relate. Okay.
Will this list be available on V12?
The slides should be up.
Okay.
So is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, I think they're up.
Yeah.
Are they up? Okay, cool. Sometimes I'll put them up and it'll save it as a draft for some reason. So if it's ever not up, definitely ask. Sorry if you didn't catch them. Like I think I mentioned, I'm using a new book, so I'm not quite as early as I like to be with slides. So I'm reading and kind of adjusting what my slides say as I go. But I'm trying to get them up a couple days in advance. I wasn't successful this week. You're good. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So I really like how this book started with the neurological exam. Does anybody have any questions from that chapter about what you were reading? He was telling it, the way they walked through the neurological exam was from the viewpoint of a neurologist. So I can tell you that speech language pathologists don't do everything that was described. So we won't always test, or typically even test, gross motor reflexes in the limbs as a speech language pathologist. However, I would do a cranial nerve exam, where you're testing gag reflex, snout and rooting reflex, all those kinds of things. Has anybody ever seen a baby? Anybody have babies? I was sort of being funny, but seriously, I've seen babies before. Y'all see when you tickle their face, what do? They go forward, or if you go like this, they'll go, right? Have you done that before? Next time you're around a baby, ask permission first. But test the reflex. It's fun. So when infants are very young, and you can, yeah, I totally do that every time I'm around a baby. You have, so I'll tell you about some adult reflexes that keep, but those reflexes actually go away, and typically develop an infant. So babies are born with those. Anybody know why you have those reflexes? Survival, yeah. So they use them for get away from noxious stimulus, but also the primary use is at the first, especially the first few weeks, is breastfeeding. So they have something called a palmo-mental reflex. Anybody done that one? Well, they'll grab, so, monkey mom, you grab them here. But also, if you go like this, your mouth and chin will go. So that's how they found the nipple. So, anybody ever heard of the breast crawl? Do y'all want to see it? Yeah. Are we mature enough to watch the breast crawl? So it's a really good example of how these reflexes are used in an infant. If you put a very just born infant within an hour of birth on mom's torso that has typical neurology, that infant can actually get itself to the breast, latch on, and nurse without any assistance except for making sure the milk will off. So here, I'll bring it up. Anybody have a baby at home? That they wouldn't, you don't tell us. Thought I'd ask. I won't make you bring them in to test their reflexes. No, I'm not giving you feedback during class, maybe later. So this is where reflexes come from. I will fast forward. Hold on. Babies, lots of babies. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So this is an infant this is within 1 hour of birth. Can everybody see that? I'm not going to turn on the sound because it's kind of noisy. So the hand, areola, mother's areolas get huge and really, really dark. So it makes, it's kind of the only thing an infant can see at birth. So infants see high contrast, and that's one of the things they can see is really high contrast at the breast. And so they can see it, and they know to orient towards that stimulus. So they have a natural predisposition to do so. And so they go for it with their hands. That's a spinal reflex. You see the knees come up. If you tickle a baby's knee back, their knees will go like this. You can run your fingers down their spine, and they'll go. Or if you put their feet down, they'll kind of do this spinal reflex walk. Don't do that one without training, even if you have permission. So they'll go for it with their hand, and when they go for it with their hand, you see his mouth go, or her mouth go. So that's all reflex. That's all motor reflex. It's hard work, baby. You can do it. Wait for it. It's getting there. Now he's salivating. She's salivating. See? That's also a reflex, so that she can smell. The other part that you can't see from a video is that there's a specific smell at the breast that the baby can orient towards. Wait for it. Almost there. I do the mouth movements with the child. Almost there. So close. Squish. There you go. Yay. So the other important thing here, jumping ahead a little bit to speech to swallowing, the science of swallowing. We will work with infants as speech language pathologists and audiologists, but SLPs will help with swallowing, and so that includes breastfeeding, right? We're not IBCLCs or certified lactation consultants, anything like that, but we can assess kind of behaviors around swallowing. And so it's important to know that infants are actually shaped differently than adults. And so they not only do they have these reflexes that adults don't have, they also have a different shaped pharynx. So things are spread out a little bit differently, and we'll take a look at that later in the room a little bit. They also have every baby has that nose, that little button nose. And so if you see it, if you've ever seen a baby nurse and you're like, ooh, can they breathe? They usually can, because unlike us that would be smothered, they actually have a gap that allows them to get air into their nose. So their nose is actually designed to allow them to breathe while being smushed against something soft. And mom is aware of where baby gets to, but that's actually a safe way for a baby to breastfeed, because they have a nose that protects them. And that all changes within the first year or two of life. It's also why babies scream a lot on airplanes, because the eustachian tubes are tube level, and it's hard for them to equalize pressure with their ears. That's a separate discussion. So you lose these reflexes. you presumably don't have them anymore. They can come back. So we tested them not just because we're looking for them in infants, but after a brain injury, sometimes those reflexes can be uninhibited. So you don't, they don't just vanish. You actually integrate them with your motor system as you age. So when you have those reflexes in an infant, you shape them with feedback, okay? So you root and you look for mom. Oh wait, mom's important. I'm getting social feedback as well as yay, yummy food feedback, okay? So that they bootstrap on each other and build together. And so eventually the reflex is actually overcome by conscious control mechanisms of non-reflexes. And so those reflexes become inhibited and you don't see them anymore. But with a brain injury, that conscious control can be damaged. You can get something called spastic dysarthria, and that's where those reflexes will show back up. And so we will test for those reflexes to understand the extent of brain injury or to understand the type of dysarthria. That's why the neurologic exam is so important for us. Because we want to know what's going on with the motor system and with the different cranial nerves. It can give us insight into these different neurological pathways. So I posted this yesterday. Anybody have a chance to look through this website? I think the book sends you to a different website too. Look at these little videos. So they have, this is a great website where this neurologist demonstrates all these different neurologic exams. So there's a mental status exam, cranial nerve exam, coordination exam, sensory, motor, and gait exam. And then there's so these are all normal exams, so folks that don't have any neurological illnesses or injuries. And then there's some normal examples, and then there's a bunch of different cases that we can watch one or two of, okay? I did want to show you the cranial nerve exam here. I'll show you the mental status exam also, actually. So it talks about that in the book. But I do have to give you sound for this one, don't I? Have y'all seen has anybody received a mental exam before or seen one given before? Pretty common. You'll see them every time somebody checks into a hospital, ER more or less. So let's look at the dominant parietal lobe function. Various knobs to turn. There we go.
I want you to take your left thumb and place it on your right elbow. I want you to take your fifth finger on your right hand and place it on your left wrist. Okay. Which is my right hand? And what would we call this finger? This finger. I want you to start at 7. Start at 100 and subtract 7. Just keep subtracting from each number that you come up with. And I'm just going to stop here.
193, 86, 79, 72, 65.
So what was he testing for there?
I want you to
Sorry.
Spatial relationships?
Spatial relationships. That's right. Said some things up here. So this is testing parietal lobe function. So the parietal lobe is responsible for your awareness of spatial relationships between things, your awareness of your right-left orientation in your body, so pointing at things and understanding what it is, and kind of putting things together. So calculations are one of those things that your parietal lobe does. So I'll show you. Oh, I had a problem with this last year. Let's see. Oh, it worked. Okay. So this is same similar sort of test that somebody's doing to test parietal lobe function. Bless you. Sorry. You're good. Trying to couldn't see where it was. With somebody that has Gertzmann syndrome, which has lesions in the parietal lobe. Yes, lesions in the parietal lobe. Oops. My mouse is gone. It's in Spanish. Which one's my right? I think. Left. So he didn't reverse it for the doctor. He asked him which was right and left, and he pointed to his right and left. I can't catch the fingers. Anybody else who speaks Spanish? Is he getting the fingers right? So he was having trouble. I forgot I was in Spanish, sorry guys. So he was having a lot of trouble differentiating right and left, especially when it was reversed or something unusual. And holding his hand like this and asking him which fingers is a really tricky thing to do because he's getting sensory feedback from the interlaced fingers, and it makes it a lot harder to tell which finger is which. You could do it. Somebody with injuries with parietal lobe has a lot more trouble with that. So even if he was going to be able to do it just by pointing to a finger, he had trouble when they were doing this, lacing the fingers together. You can spend all day showing you these things. Let's see. Then I'll show you cranial nerve exam here. So not all the cranial nerves are relevant to speech and hearing, speech, language, and hearing. We need to know about visual perception. So we need to know that somebody can see what we're showing them. We need to know about sensory nerve, so facial, sensory, and motor sensation, cranial nerve 5. The facial nerve here, that's the trigeminal nerve. And the cranial nerve 7, which is the facial nerve, we need to know about that one because it also helps us make sound with the muscles of our face, okay? And then there's some other ones we also need. We'll talk about that later in the term. So these are really important to kind of get a sense of how we test them. And then we learn more in detail later in the term when we talk about cranial nerves. It'll make more sense because you'll understand a bit more kind of what they're for and how you look for impairments. So I'm going to show you the motor test for the trigeminal nerve. This is one of these reflexes that they're testing for. Anybody ever had the hammer tests done?
Now you test the motor division when you look at
We'll test your knees about this.
and I want you to bite them hard on the decibels, the temporals.
I remember those words.
And don't let it push. And we're actually testing the turbulence and there's no high deviation. That's normal. And then the one intended reflex we test that is actually the jaw jerk. In doing this, I want you to open up just a little bit. Place my thumb on your chin and just tap the jaw. Typically, you don't see much of it. Very good.
So if somebody had had spastic dysarthria, it would have tapped and it would have jumped more. So that was testing a lot of the jaw muscles through there. That's what the trigeminal nerve controls. And we can look at the facial nerve here. And these are all tests that an SLP would do.
You look at the cranial nerve 7 and actually have you look up your eyebrows, test
So he's both go up to the same height.
This is good. Don't really open it too tight. Good. Okay, nice. Now I want you to get all your teeth. That's fine. I want you to go
That muscle right here.
Now, kiss or blow. Very good. That's very good. Now I want you to puff out your cheeks. Full of air and see if this big air skin. Very good. Now, if I were to tell your front jaw, would you smile?
She's like, So there were several things he was looking for. He wasn't just looking at those muscles. There's specific qualities of muscle movement that you need to be aware of that they talk about in that chapter. So he's looking for general tone. Is the muscle the tone you might expect? If it's flaccid, it'll feel like Play-Doh. Anybody touched a baby's face? They feel squishier. It's not just because they're squishy and cute and covered with fat. It's actually because their muscles are more flaccid. They haven't developed their motor system yet. So if you touch a baby's face, that's sort of what flaccidity feels like. So they're looking for flaccidity, or if it's too tight, which is spasticity, it'll feel harder. So he's looking for that in those muscles that are controlled by the cranial nerve. He's also looking for range of motion, so that's why he had or do certain things like raise their eyes to see if it goes up all the way. Somebody that has cranial nerve 7 damage on one side might raise an eyebrow, not on purpose, but just raise one side, right? Or somebody do it, one eyebrow. If one side is flaccid, when she puffs her cheeks out, one side might give more, or she might have trouble keeping that seal in her lips and air might escape. So that's the other thing he's looking for. So he's looking for tone, he's looking for symmetry, range of motion, and probably a couple of other things in there. And we'll revisit what the different cranial nerves do later in the term. But these are the aspects of the actual exam itself. Any other questions about this so far? About what they're looking for? We won't practice exams in here. It's something I do with graduate students. But it's important to understand kind of how we look for things, to understand why they're important to us.
I guess this is done after the patient's description of their.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
But it is standard.
It is standard. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't walk in the room and just start poking people. And he was telling her. So if we want to talk about bedside manner a little bit. Well, obviously. So after you walked in, introduced yourself, and you're talking about things, finding out what complaints are. You would be talking somebody through it. So he was doing that while he was doing his exam. Now I'm going to test your cheeks. I want you to puff up your cheeks. Now I'm going to be touching your face to see if it escapes. So you don't want to just, hey, puff up your cheeks and like reach out and whack somebody. You're going to talk them through it. Yeah?
So if you do this exam, like the people have some days better than others, obviously it can get worse over time. Is it part of a baseline? I mean, do you create a baseline?
Sure. Yeah. So you have to do the problem with cranial nerve exams is that we all are a little bit different and have different reflexes. The gag reflex is actually a really good example. So the gag reflex is really relevant to SLPs because we also work with folks with swallowing impairments. But 90% of the population has a typical gag reflex. 10% just doesn't. So 10% has integrated that function. It doesn't gag when you stroke the base of the tongue in the back. So if you're doing that exam and it's not there, it doesn't really tell you anything. You know what I mean? So you're going to always take those findings with a grain of salt. And the point isn't to just say, hey, abnormal findings. It's also to say, how does this impact your function? Right? So if there's a little air escaping, doesn't impact speech, not impacting swallowing, okay. It doesn't seem to be a huge deal. However, it might be a sign that they have cranial nerve damage. Does anybody know a really common cranial nerve 7 disorder? You've probably met people that have half their face flaccid.
Bell's palsy?
Yes. So Bell's palsy is actually damage to cranial nerve 7. And it's fairly common. I had a friend that got it, speaking of babies, got hit in the face with a fire truck by her 3-year-old, damaged her cranial nerve, and now has Bell's palsy permanently from that damage. And you'll see it, and it used to be called truck driver syndrome because they used to believe you got it from sitting or driving a lot with the wind in your face, like it caused swelling in your face. And it's because it's impinging on that cranial nerve. So that could be a sign that something's going on neurologically. So even if it's not impacting function, that'll say, oh, look, you do have positive signs for cranial nerve problems. So now we're going to send you for a more thorough workup to find out what those problems are, get you on some kind of medicine like steroids to reduce swelling if that's appropriate. That's all a neurology decision, not an SLP scope of practice. Yeah.
I know 2 people that got Bell's palsy while they were pregnant.
Oh, really? From swelling, or did they say why?
I don't know why. I was wondering.
I don't know. Well, you get all sorts of pregnancy.
Yeah.
But it could be from swelling. So if there's water retention, you gain. So how many pints of blood does a human typically have? 6 pints. Is that right? So a pregnant woman has 9. It's a lot of blood. So you have not only that, but you have all sorts of other fluids, and you have swelling in the tissues, and it can impinge on the nerves.
So does that nerve damage create just weakness, or is it like numbness, paralysis?
Both. Yep, good question. So the cranial nerve has dual functions. Not all cranial nerves have motor and sensory functions, and I'll give you fun mnemonics to remember all that later. So both for cranial nerve 7, sensory and motor function. So you also don't have sensation on that side of your face. You might have trouble salivating on that side, and it will look droopy. I'll show you. Real quick. This is all stuff we'll come back to. There it is. So here's a quick Google search of Bell's palsy. I do this all the time. You should do this too. If you want to know what something looks like and there's not a picture in your book, just search it. Gives you lots of examples. So you can see it affects the smile. That side of the face will not smile, won't retract the lips. It'll be droopy at rest, and the eye will have a little bit of ptosis. So you'll have a little bit of droopy eye right there. Doesn't have a lot of speech consequences usually. People will say they sound different to themselves, and that's worth listening to. So I might work on somebody feeling more like themselves so that they can be understood. But most of the time, nobody has trouble understanding somebody with Bell's palsy, depending on severity. However, it can affect social communication. So I actually knew somebody that broke up with his girlfriend because he got Bell's palsy, because she would often sit on his right side, which was palsied, and so she thought he wasn't laughing at her jokes or really listening to her, because she couldn't see any signs of facial expression change. And so they didn't realize what was happening until it had already really damaged their relationship beyond repair. And simple fix, right? Left side, but it's not something you think of. But it's not. When you think about it, those things are ingrained habits. So social communication, how you speak, that's kind of core of your identity, who you are. And so you don't just think, oh yeah, I'll sit on the opposite side. If you've known somebody for a long time, you have habits, right? And that is something we can recommend to somebody, even if it is just sort of a tip. You don't have to have a whole session for that, right? So we're going to, instead of spending a lot more time looking at these little videos right now, and I'll stop and ask you all questions just a sec, we're going to be looking at those throughout the term. So the nice thing about that chapter is you see this overview of what kind of things are looked for, what types of exams there are, and then as we're learning about the different structures and functions of the brain, we can look back and say, okay, how is that tested? How is the frontal lobe tested? How is the cranial nerves, 9 tested? All those different things. And so we'll be revisiting this. So spend some good quality time on that website. I could waste a whole lot of time on there. It's really interesting to look through all the different things that can be tested. Any questions? Curiosities? Yeah?
So it's like a curiosity on my part, but when I was about high school, my sister's face suddenly became droopy on one side, and she recovered after 6 months or something like that. It slowly recovered, and I've forgotten about it by now, but I have no idea what that was about.
Sounds like Bell's palsy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So it is really common. It can be sudden, it could be viral. So if she had a virus or a cold, it can actually incubate in your nerves, or chickenpox. A lot of people are like, oh, everybody got used to get chickenpox, I don't need that vaccine. It incubates in your nervous system. So shingles later will show up along the path of your nerves. And shingles can cause nerve damage and cause things like Bell's palsy. So any kind of virus can do that, cause swelling. And then for a lot of folks, it does go away and get better. Sometimes it kind of will recur. But it sounds like she That's good.
So while we're doing the neurological exam, does any like indications of like excessive twitching or anything like that mean something?
Yes, so it depends. Yes. So twitching isn't a technical term, so it would be tics. You could have tics, you could have hyperclonic movements, you could have lots of different ballistic movements, you could have clonic movements. There is a whole chart in your book that shows you kind of a scale of rapid to slow involuntary movements. Involuntary movements usually indicate not cranial nerve damage, but basal ganglia damage. So Tourette's is an example of a tic syndrome. Tourette's have complex tics. Anybody know anybody with Tourette's syndrome? TV shows them as swearing. As you might guess, TV is not accurate. So that's not really that accurate. Most of them are some other kind of complex tic. Like, a kid I knew had, he would sniff really loudly and jump. So, jump. And that was his tic. He had to do it. And it looks like something you can control, but it's not. They describe the feeling as an itch they can't scratch. And then you can inhibit it. But other tics can be things like individual muscle tic, so a twitch that isn't controlled. And we all get those from time to time from muscle fatigue. Does not indicate brain damage. If it doesn't go away, you should get checked. But if it's just like a one-time thing, and you've been tired, and you haven't been eating right, and you had too much caffeine this morning, those are probably the things that they'll tell you to fix first.
I saw this video a while back of this like avant-garde doctor, dentist, or orthodontist or something doing something with a kid with Tourette's where he like put some sort of structure in his mouth and it moved his jaw. And
It's my skeptical face.
No, yeah, me too. But it's, I think it was implying that Tourette's had something to do with the, like, I guess, trigeminal. No. So it was just.
No, I can tell you why though. So the thing with Tourette's is if you have a distraction and it's more salient than the tic, sometimes it means the tic won't feel as strongly needed to do. If that makes sense. So that would probably work for a little while. I know some people will have like a water bottle even. If you bite down on it, that kind of motor feedback kind of makes it easier to inhibit those tics. But the problem with any kind of thing like that, with a bite or a tool or a pencil or whatever, is over time your body gets used to it and it no longer works. So that would probably work temporarily and then go away. Yeah. And I've also heard it said that when they will inhibit like that, even if they're not even thinking about it, later they pay for it. So I can inhibit. Now I have to like do my tic for like an hour because I couldn't get it out before. But everybody's different. Any other questions like that? Yeah.
Is there any relationship between the causes of Bell's palsy and the fact that, like, if you're having a stroke, your face will droop?
Good question. So actually, my friend with the fire truck in the face by her toddler thought she was having a stroke at first because of the face droop. And no, it is not the same thing. So you get facial droop for a different reason from stroke, and you need a couple of signs would be happening. So if you have a facial droop and you don't know what it is, go, and thank you for bringing that up, go to a doctor within, or go immediately. So you have a 4-hour window to get clot busters if you have an ischemic stroke. So you need to do that right away. With a stroke, you would also have other signs, probably like confusion. Face by itself would not be necessarily stroke, but you don't have to guess. Go to the doctor.
Is ischemic a TIA, or is that different? And is an ischemic stroke that's a TIA?
We're going to come back to that, so I'm going to put you off. So a TIA is small. An ischemic stroke is just a clot. A big stroke. It could be a big stroke. Yeah. We'll come back to stroke, though. We'll be talking about mechanisms. Any other questions like that? We'll be talking about all this stuff as we go. And be revisiting all the exams. If you think you're having a stroke, please go to the doctor. Don't wait for me to tell you about it. Truly. Okay. Neuroimaging methods. So these are also, we'll be taking a break in, where's my clock go? Like, I'm going to get through with MRI and then we'll take a break, okay guys? Gals and guys, people, try not to say guys anymore. Hard habit. Okay. So besides the neurologic exam, where it's sort of hands-on of looking at signs and symptoms in person, since time immemorial, people have wanted to look at the brain, figure out what's going on. Luckily, we live in a time where we have a lot of different methods that can at least give us pictures of the brain. I think this is sort of an old reference now, dated, but y'all seen Firefly or Serenity?
Mm-hmm.
Those movies? You know the brain, the part movie where he's like looking through the brain in like holographic style. It's like he goes pull out slices, and I want that. So we're going to use these 4 substitutes: magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, which is more of a research tool; positron emission tomography; electroencephalography, also event-related potentials, and I'll tell you a little bit about transcranial magnetic stimulation. So I showed you a picture of an MRI to start with, so we'll come back to that at some point. But magnetic resonance imaging uses big magnets. Has anybody ever had an MRI done before? Big magnet, they're noisy, right? So what they basically do is line up the iron in your blood so that your cells become aligned, and you'll hear it go chunk, 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 chunk while it's doing this. Typical clinical magnets are anywhere between 3 and 6 Tesla, and that means 3 to 6 times Earth's gravity. That is a big honking magnet. They have research machines, research magnets that are up to 20 Tesla, but they're little and just for rats. That's a really big magnet. And if you want to get a physicist talking about woo, I don't know what word I'm looking for, stuff they don't understand, get them talking about magnets. Because they don't really know what they are. So put it really, it's really kind of cool. So they line everything up. Normally your cells are all over which way. Then they line everything up. Then they shoot an RF frequency at it, which is just a radio wave. And when they do that, then all your cells are like this, and it causes a 3-dimensional wobble in the cells, and they wobble according to their weight and density. And when they stand back up, so you get a radio frequency that absorbs it, and when they unwobble, they spit back out a radio frequency. That's what they do. And an RF receiver, an MRI, picks up those radio frequencies, and a really, really big computer processes them, because you have lots of RF shooting back at you, basically. And you get an MRI in any part of the body. We're talking about brains. So you can get really precise images of structure. They can look at different things depending on the type of processing you're doing. So they can be looking for tissue. They can look more for bone. We won't get into the details too much, but they can look for different things depending on what they do with the machine and the software. And so you can get these nice detailed images of structure. A CT scan is relatively cheap by comparison, but it's not as detailed. So if you go to the ER, they're looking for big bleeds. So to avoid having to do a big interview about whether or not you have ferrous metal somewhere in your body that's going to come shooting out when you go into an MRI room because the magnet's huge, they'll throw you in a CT scan so that they can save your life if they need to. But if they want a really detailed understanding of what's going on, that's when they'll go to the MRI. CT is computerized tomography. So it's an X-ray that goes in a spiral around you. It's non-invasive, unless you're worried about radio waves, which you're swimming in them right now. Among other things. Just like Wi-Fi, there's the Wi-Fi router. Electricity, 60 hertz is floating all around you. Now you're all stressed out, I'm sorry. But they're not using X-rays, so it's not radioactive. They're not using any kind of radioactive substance. So unlike PET scans, they're not going to put radioactive stuff into your bloodstream. Problem is, it doesn't show you function. So it's just showing you anatomy. It can't be used with people that have internal metallic devices that are magnetic. It's pretty expensive. They need like a whole staff of people just to run an MRI.
As far as non-invasive, what about the dye? Would they send the contrast dye?
With PET. So they don't usually do a dye MRI.
I just had one this summer.
So they might do it for a specific reason, but that's actually fairly unusual. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they might have been looking for something really specific for you. That's not common. Yeah. I'm curious about that now. I won't ask you in class.
Oh yeah, I'll ask you.
You don't have to, you do. Okay. All right. So that's MRI in a nutshell. Let's take a quick break. Let's take 10 minutes and then we'll come back and talk more. Okay?